Hello everybody, Killer Winston here, and today I will be doing a new what if. And this what if is going to be what if Deku was Accelerator. And also, please comment down below your thoughts on this new thumbnail, because this time I didn't make the thumbnail, someone made it. And this someone is in my Discord server who has a thumbnail artist role. So if you want this person to help you make some custom thumbnails, please go find him. He's a very talented thumbnail maker. Now, for those who don't know who Accelerator is, let me give you a brief explanation. Accelerator is a character from a certain magical index, and also the main character of a certain scientific accelerator. His power is, well, vector control. And as for what a vector is, it basically means anything that has a direction and a magnitude. Now, with that out of the way, let's get right into this new what if. Our story starts off with Deku being born just like normal, with him growing up pretty much just as the same as canon. But there's a twist, because Hasashi Midoriya, Deku's dad, is also at home, not somewhere in America. As at the age of, let's say, 3, Deku's hair would start to change from his normal greenish black into a grayish white, along with his eyes fading from green into red, with both Inko and Hasashi being confused as to why this is happening to their little baby, or up their child. They would have taken Deku to the quirk doctor to see if his quirk has manifested. But the doctor would have been surprised, because even though Deku's hair and eye colors are changing, his body doesn't seem to have a quirk, because his body has that second joint. With this shocking all three of them, as Inko would have asked the doctor, if Deku doesn't have a quirk, then why is his hair changing from a greenish black into a grayish white, along with his eyes changing from green into red, with the doctor explaining to Inko that this may just be because of a defect from Deku's DNA. Now, after the checkup, Inko, Hasashi, and Deku would have returned to their house, with both Deku and Hasashi being devastated that Deku doesn't have a quirk. Inko, seeing this, she would have tried to calm down both of them, as whenever Deku went to school, some of his classmates would start to notice that Deku's hair is changing color, and asking if he went to the quirk doctor yet, to which Deku just nods. Them asking Deku if he has a quirk or not, to which Deku just silently say no. However, even though Deku silently said no, everyone in the class would have known that Deku said no because he is shaking his head, them starting to laugh at Deku for being quirkless. And then starts the bullying. Deku being pushed around for being quirkless, and also being beaten up for no reason. This happening until the age of 4, basically for 1 year, because that was when the bullying would have escalated, because At the age of 4, everyone in the class would start to get their own quirks. This causing them to use their own quirks on Deku to try and, well, test out their quirks while beating onto Deku. And after being bullied at school, Deku would just return home like nothing happened, telling his mom that this happened because of himself and his doing, not his classmates. And by this, I mean the bruises and scratches on his body and also his school bag. As when Hasashi got back home, him seeing Deku's bag being like basically broken and has holes in it, he would start to yell at Deku, ignoring the fact that he is also bruised and scratched up. So basically, Deku is being beaten up at both his house and his school, meaning that there is no place where he is safe except maybe in the arms of his mom. Because right now, she is kind of the only one who's being kind to Deku. Now, we will skip to the day of Deku's 5th birthday, with Deku reaching 5 years old and also experiencing all of those things I just said every single day. Yes, you heard me right. Every single day for 1 year. And by everything, I mean Deku at school being bullied and get his stuff, well, scratched up and basically damaged. Then going back home acting like everything's fine to make his mom not worried. But when Hasashi returned home, when he found out that Deku's stuffs are damaged and scratched up, he would have gotten mad and beat up Deku again. And if you're wondering why Hasashi is beating up Deku for such a small reason, or well, small problem, it's because Hasashi doesn't look at Deku as his son, but as a worthless piece of trash that doesn't have a quirk or any powers or money. Meaning that a person that has no value and should get no respect. As Hasashi, while being held back and basically told not to by Inko, he would have continuously beat up Deku for like 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, Inko would have went over to Deku and tried to patch him up while apologizing to Deku for her inability to protect him. As this would have repeated every single day for that year until Deku's 5th birthday, which I'm going to talk about right now. Now, Deku's day on his birthday would have been normal. And by normal, I mean him being bullied at school just as usual. But when Deku was being bullied at school, something would have happened, because whenever Bakugo and some other kids try to hit Deku and Bakugo using explosions, everyone would have felt a force going back towards them at the place where they hit Deku. Them thinking that it is just a fluke, they would have continued to beat up Deku while feeling that force every single time they hit Deku. As for Deku, he would have felt less and less pain inflicted on him with each punch. But he is still feeling the force of the attack and, well, getting hurt. As after school, Deku would have returned home to find his mom Inko at the door, or at the front door, with her opening the door and finding that Deku is again scratched up and bruised. She would have asked Deku why he is doing this to himself, knowing that his dad is going to be angry with him. Deku just staying silent, as Inko would have found out that Deku's clothes and bag is scuffled up again. Her telling Deku to get in the house so that they can hide those scuffled up shirts and, well, basically all of those damaged clothes and school bag, so that they can deceive Hasashi into thinking that Deku didn't do anything bad, so he won't beat up Deku. However, since that day is Deku's birthday, and no one is noticing that that day is Deku's birthday, including Inko, he would have started to cry on the spot. Inko being confused since she didn't do anything. As Deku, knowing that if he just stays in this house, he's going to get beat up again, he ran away. Him immediately turning to his left and running straight forwards. Inko seeing that, she would have ran out the door and tried to catch Deku, but whenever she did, she would have just saw nothing, since Deku ran away already. Her stopping for a second, as she would have realized that this day is Deku's birthday, and she just forgot about it. Her just turning around and start to walk back into the house. But whenever she did, she would have saw Hasashi in front of her. Him just telling Inko that they need to talk, as Hasashi and Inko would have went into the house. Now, we'll go back over to Deku. Deku, he would have been running down the street, him turning a corner as he would have ran into an alleyway. But not long after, he would have ran into a dead end and hit his head. With Deku falling onto the ground, he would have gotten back up and continued to cry. Him asking why he is quirkless and powerless, and also why this is happening to him. Him falling onto his knees as he would have started to punch the ground. Him continuing to cry and asking the same questions. As that was when a man with a dark flame for a head would have passed by. Him being confused as to why there's a kid crying right in front of him, he would have went over and asked, "Hey boy, are you alright?" Deku, ignoring this man, he would have continued to cry. As Kurogiri, yes, this is Kurogiri, he would have told Deku to stop crying and basically trying to calm him down. This going on for, let's say, half an hour. Deku, after he calmed down, he would have asked what is Kurogiri's name, to which Kurogiri just tells him. Him asking Deku the same question, as Deku would have just told Kurogiri his name also. And just as Kurogiri was about to leave, Deku would have said, "Mr. Kurogiri, do you have a place for me to stay in for a bit?" Kurogiri, thinking about it, he would have came to the conclusion that bringing Deku along won't be that much of a problem. Him opening a portal and proceeding to tell Deku to go through it. Deku doing so, and whenever he got to the other side of the portal, he would have saw that he is inside well, a bar. Him also seeing Tomura Shigaraki, who's currently at that time, I think about 10 years old. Yeah, I think so. Now, basically, Deku would have stayed there for about 3 to 4 hours. Him just sitting there and drinking water while Shigaraki is also doing his own things. And if you're wondering if Deku ever interacted with Shigaraki, yes, he did. It was just basically introduction to themselves. After that, they never talked because Deku is too scared to talk to others because he's scared that they will basically beat him up, while Shigaraki, well, it is spoilers, so I won't talk about it. Basically, both of them are just too scared to talk to each other. And after like an hour of being there, Deku would have opened the TV and, well, saw All Might being on there. Deku getting excited since, All Might is the number one hero and in Deku's eyes, the coolest hero. However, Shigaraki would have just yelled at Deku for him to turn the TV off or just switch to another channel, because as everyone should know, Shigaraki hates All Might. Deku, not understanding why someone would not like All Might, he would have continued to stay on that channel and continue to watch All Might. Shigaraki being annoyed, he would have started to walk over to Deku. Him threatening Deku to close the TV or switch to another channel, otherwise he's going to disintegrate him. Deku thinking that he is just joking, as Shigaraki would have touched a glass of water with all 5 of his fingers, it turning into dust right in front of Deku. Deku seeing that, he would have of course been scared. Him immediately switching into another channel as Shigaraki would have just walked back into his seat and sit down. After that happened, for the rest of those 2 to 3 hours, it would have been dead silence. But the dead silence would have only been between Shigaraki and Deku, because after that happened, Deku would have been talking with Kurogiri, and basically trying to at least enjoy himself for a few hours, or at least just a few minutes, as whenever it was about 6 to 7 p.m., Kurogiri would have asked Deku if he would like to go back home. Deku shaking his head as he would have told Kurogiri why he doesn't want to go back home. Basically, if he does, he's just going to get beat up by his dad. Kurogiri hearing that, he would have just tried to convince Deku to stay strong and face it head on, and that if he let such a small problem to hold him back, or hold him back, then he's never going to be able to do the things he wants to. Deku, after hearing that, he would have taken a deep breath, as he would have told Kurogiri where he lived. Kurogiri opening a portal straight in front of Deku's house. Deku walking through and being at the front door. Him being scared, as Kurogiri would just reassure Deku that everything is going to be okay as long as you face it head on and not trying to escape from it. Deku nodding as he would have knocked on the door or just pressed the bell. After that, Deku would have looked back to see if Kurogiri is there or not, to which Kurogiri would have already left. And when Deku looked back at the door, Hasashi would have opened the door, him saying, "Hello there, boy, get in." Deku taking another deep breath as he would have went into his house, him seeing that everything is fine except for the fact that the house is a bit too quiet. Deku having a bad feeling. With Hasashi closing the door, he would have told Deku to sit down, Deku doing so and sitting on the sofa. As Hasashi walking and stopping in front of Deku, he would have asked, "Izuku, tell me, what is the real reason behind all of your things being damaged every single day?" Deku saying, I was bullied." "Bullied? Pathetic. And you call yourself my son." Hasashi putting his hand on Deku's shoulder and saying, "From here on out, Izuku, I disown you, meaning that you are no longer my son. Get out." Deku being, of course, surprised and shocked, he would have said, "Why? What did I do wrong?" "What did you do wrong? Let me tell you something, Izuku." Hasashi grabbing Deku by his neck and raising him up and saying, "In this world, there are only two things that matters, power and money. Since both me and Inko do not have money, so don't you. However, you are also quirkless, meaning that you have no power. You, Izuku, are just a worthless piece of trash that is wasting my time." As that was when the door into Inko's room would have started to bang. Deku being a bit surprised, but Hasashi would not, him continuing and saying, "Don't mind the banging on the door, Izuku. Your focus should be on me. And as I was saying, since you don't have either power or money, you have no value in this world. No one, and I mean no one, is going to pay attention to a worthless piece of trash that don't give any value to them. That is just how this world works, trash." Just as Hisashi said that, the door into Inko's room would have burst down, with Inko rushing off the room and telling Hisashi to get away from her son. "Your son? I don't see one. The only thing I see is a creature that's wasting my time. And also yours, Inko. Give it up. He is not worth our time." Inko saying, "Worth it or not, he's still my son and yours too. You should not and never do that to your own son." Her rushing in and trying to stop Hasashi from choking Deku to death. Her being successful, as Deku would have dropped to the ground gasping for air. Hasashi saying, "You should know this, Inko. I was a villain, and I don't know what in the world made you think that marrying a villain is fine. Tell me, what was that reason again?" Inko saying, "I thought I could change you back into the person I once knew. But no, I guess I was wrong. People like you villains never change." Well, it's not that we don't change. It's just that we are at the point of no return. And now that I mention it, I am inching for that exciting life again. The only things that are in my way are you, Inko, and that piece of crap. So please, die. As smoke would have came off of Hisashi's mouth, him breathing fire straight towards Izuku, or Deku. Inko, without thinking, would have immediately went in front of Deku and tried to block the attack. Her doing so, but harming her back, with her back having some third-degree burns. Deku, seeing that his mother was just burnt by fire, he will of course be worried, him running over, or just turning around and asking if his mom is alright or not. To which, before he even asked, he would see that Inko is visibly in pain. Hasashi readying another fire-breathing attack, Deku would have stood up and in front of his mom, him trying to protect her and saying, No, you will not hurt my mom. And what can a brat like you do? Hasashi breathing a wave of fire straight towards Deku. And just as the wave of fire touches Deku's face, it would have shot straight back towards Hasashi. Hasashi. Hasashi being confused as his face would have been, well, caught on fire. Him running around and trying to find water to put out the fire. Deku being confused as to what happened, but he would not do anything about it or just think anything about it, because he is currently busy with trying to save his mom and get her out of there. However, Inko would have just told Deku to run, and that to keep running until he can lose his dad. Deku not listening to Inko, he would have stood up and tried to face against his own dad, or Hasashi. Hasashi, after putting out the flame that was on his face, he would have said, So you do have a quirk. Well, it doesn't matter anymore. You are going to die here along with your mom. As Hasashi would have breathed a bigger wave of fire straight towards Deku. Deku, this time, while standing in front of Inko, he would have thought, Up, 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 come on, up. And just as the flame was about to touch Deku, it would have changed direction and went straight up towards the roof, it scattering and basically burning the house. With the house being caught on fire, Deku would have turned around and immediately started to drag Inko out of there and into the front door, or through the front door. However, Inko would have just said, Izuku, my beautiful boy, please survive. And as Inko was saying that, she would have been moving her hand across Deku's cheeks and giving him a smile. Deku wanting to continue to save his mom, he would have tried to continue to pull Inko out of the house. But just then, Inko would have used her quirk and pushed Deku out of the house, or out of the front door, her giving the same smile as she would have again used her quirk to close the front door. Deku, seeing that his mom is trapped in a burning house, he would have tried to run in and save his mom. But Deku, knowing that he is no match for Hasashi, and remembering that his mom wants him to survive, he would have grudgingly turned aside and started to run. Him trying to find the alleyway where he met Kurogiri. As back in the house, Hisashi walking and standing in front of Inko, he would have said, Inko, Inko, Inko. Too bad. Looks like I wasn't able to change after all. Don't worry, I'll show you some mercy and kill you without you suffering anymore. With Hisashi using one of his strongest fire breath and immediately disintegrating Inko. Hisashi, after killing Inko, he would have just started to laugh, him saying, well, looks like I'm back. And that will be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. That will be amazing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!